Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Hello and welcome to Making It Big Season 7. I'm your host AB Ravi. Well, I feel very proud and privileged to be hosting this series Making It Big for the 7th year in succession. It is one of the longest running shows on CNBC TV 18. Like in the past, this year too, we will be showcasing success stories of Indian entrepreneurs which are both inspirational and aspirational. I'm sure it will serve as a ready-made guide for those who want to start their own business. With this thought of mine, let me turn my focus to this week's episode. Dream, they say, is not what you see in your sleep. Dream is a thing which does not let you sleep. For 26 years, Anand Deshpande has been dreaming big, that too persistently. And to make his dream come true, he identified a sector, created an enabling environment that ignited 10,000 minds to solve the problem of some of the world's best technology companies. And the results are all to see. Pune-based Persistent Systems, the country's first outsourcing product development services company, has emerged as the fastest growing mid-sized IT company. Take a look at Persistent's story and you'll know how to make it big by focusing on few things but doing those extremely well.
At first glance, his demeanor seems cocky. But the moment you break into conversation with Anand Deshpande, then his real persona comes to the fore. Full of confidence and conviction, Anand comes across as a man who knows exactly where he wants to go and how he wants to go. And these qualities have ensured that he is always ahead of the curve. Witness this. He did his master's and PhD in computer science in the mid-80s when it was not fashionable. Again, he returned to India when the general trend was to migrate to the US. And finally, he got into the IT business, basically outsourcing, which was different from other IT companies in India. By design, his philosophy is to be different so that he and his company stand out in the crowd. Not surprisingly, they both do. In the last 26 years, Persistent Systems has grown from a small outfit with a turnover of 10 lakh rupees in 1992 to a 2,300 crore rupee company straddling 5 continents. This Pune-based mid-sized IT services company, which employs over 10,000 people, provides outsourced product development services to independent software vendors like IBM, Microsoft, and Oracle, to name a few. It also helps enterprise clients implement digital platforms like Salesforce.com or Skype, besides helping such firms to execute digital projects like mobile app development. According to an Ambit Equity Research report, Persistent derives revenues from the sale of acquired products, which is IP-led. Besides, its large product engineering deal with IBM would ensure that it gets a share of IBM's revenues from 2 product suites instead of a typical time and material structure.
The market has changed drastically in the last couple of years. The customer is looking for a partner who can help them solve business problems with cutting-edge technology fastest. And all those 3 things have to be in tandem for the solutions that they are creating for their users, their customers, coherent. From a delivery standpoint, from our internal perspective, our problems happen to be unique. At the same time, they are pretty much industry problems today. We are, in some sense, a mid-sized player in the market. But at the same time, we come from a unique place in history. We have a 25-year experience of developing products, etc. So the teams, the employees or the colleagues who come to work for us, they come to us for a different reason than they would typically go to other players.
That is evident. Since its inception, Persistent has worked with 300 independent software vendors and made over 5,500 product releases till date. Its differentiated strategy has enabled it to work closely with 10 of the top 20 technology companies in the world. This business association with the world's best is reflected in its financials. Persistent crossed an important milestone of reporting a turnover of $100 million in the 100th quarter ended March 2016. Besides, it has been delighting its shareholders with bonuses and consistent dividends. In the last 5 years, its turnover has more than doubled from 1,000 crore rupees in FY 2012 to 2,312 crore rupees in FY 2016, recording a CAGR of 23.3%. Likewise, its net profit too has doubled from 142 crore rupees to 297 crore rupees, giving a CAGR of 20.3%. And the stock market seems to have given it a thumbs up. Persistent's market cap has jumped from 1,640 crore rupees in 2010 when it launched the IPO to 5,161 crore rupees in August 2016. Today, Anand and his shareholders are laughing all the way to the banks. But the road to success was not exactly a cakewalk. It was a long, arduous journey, the seeds of which were sown in 1990. Anand was born in Akola in Maharashtra in 1962. He was the eldest of the 3 children family. His family moved to Bhopal as his father served at PAIL. After his schooling at Campion School, Bhopal, he did his B.Tech in Computer Science from IIT Kharagpur in 1984. He then went to the US to acquire a master's and a PhD in computer science from the Indiana University, Bloomington. By design, he chose to join the research site of Hewlett-Packard Labs in California in May 1989. 18 months later, Anand felt he was not cut out to be an employee, but an employer. He wanted to do something in India that he could be proud of. In 1990, he winged back to India and set up Persistent in Pune with his lifetime savings of 3.6 lakh rupees. With 6 people and a computer, he operated out of a 350 square foot office. Outsourcing was a new concept and Persistent was a trendsetter. It worked on innovative and core projects for database companies of that time. And Lady Luck was benevolent. His colleague at HP, who later became the founder of a French IT firm, became his first customer. The second customer was Data Parallel Systems from Indiana. But what swung his fortune to a large extent was the Microsoft deal in 1992. Impressed by his business model, private equity player Intel Capital picked up stakes in the company. With large IT companies getting into his space, Anand, to protect his turf, has made 13 acquisitions in the last few years. These acquisitions have given Persistent confidence to bag major projects against the big boys. While this has increased his bouquet of offerings, he has also parallelly reorganized his business under 4 verticals, namely Services, Digital, IBM Alliance and Accelerite. Besides, he has brought sales and delivery functions under one head. All this being to retain the customer's loyalty.
I've been associated with Persistent Systems, or PSL, for over 10 years. I've worked with them in a variety of ways. PSL is a fantastic team that under Anand Deshpande, in his leadership, that's become one of IBM's closest partners in so many ways. They've consistently brought problem-solving capabilities to the table in both leadership and their team members that enable IBM to work better with our clients in ways that we never thought we could. So PSL specializes in blending into our work, being seamless. They become a team member, and they are making our problems go away so we can work with our clients faster.
Clearly, staying focused and being seen as a market leader seems to be Persistent's corporate credo. Anand and his company are getting ready for the 4th Industrial Revolution. On that note, it's time for a short break. When we come back, CNBC TV18's AB Ravi talks to 54-year-old Anand Deshpande, CMD of Persistent Systems, about his game plan. Also joining us on the show is Sandeep Uppal of HSBC. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Academically and professionally, he has always been ahead of the curve. So when Anand Deshpande returned to India in the 90s, he was clear that he wanted to do something that would make everybody proud. I caught up with this first generation entrepreneur at his sprawling Pune office to find out what gave him the confidence that he would succeed. This is what he has to say. Take a look. Anand, Sandeep, welcome to the show. Anand, remember, we began by asking you, what was the thought behind the IBM deal you signed this year? It raised a lot of eyebrows within your own fraternity.
Correct. So IBM has been a customer and a partner of Persistent for many years. And then this whole IoT, which is the Internet of Things, is starting to become a big area of opportunity. So what we did was we did an alliance with IBM where we have taken over the responsibility of building software, which is in the realm of software-defined things. So the continuous engineering and continuous lifecycle management of things so that they can keep current and updated. We have now taken responsibility of building that product roadmap for IBM and developing and delivering that product for continuous engineering. And also we have done an alliance with them where we are a partner with them to build out solutions in the IoT space.
Okay, now let me hark back in time. Outsourcing was a new concept when your company entered in 1990. You were a trendsetter. Then in 2008, you got into SMAC. Recently, your focus has been digital and IoT. So how do you seek this opportunity and what gives you confidence this is the area you have to be?
See, okay, we are a fairly small company as compared to the typical IT large companies that we see. So for companies like us and companies that are small, unless you are differentiated, you are dead. Okay. So we have to make a living on being ahead of the curve, tracking what's coming up, and sort of taking advantage of the new things that are coming up before other people sort of get into it in some ways. And for our business, this has been quite effective because we have we work with a lot of product companies. We work with technology companies across the world. So we get a chance to learn what's going on and bring that in together. And that's sort of how we have always survived. And that's part of excitement for me as well because I get to learn new things all the time.
Okay. What was the strategy plank on which you set up this whole business?
So I started the business in 1990, so it's almost 25 plus years. See, the early years were very different from what they are now. The market, the conditions, the environment. At that time, when I started Persistent, before that I used to work for Hewlett-Packard Laboratories in the US. And the idea was to come back and do something from India that can be, that we can all be proud of. I had two things in mind when I came back. One was personally, I wanted to make sure I do not compromise my resume because a lot of people, when I was doing fairly well at HP Labs, I was in the research area.
Sure.
When I came back, everyone thought, okay, now you're pretty much writing away your tech career and you're going to do something stupid. But I was very clear that I didn't want to sort of compromise my personal resume and also demonstrate that you could do cutting edge cool work from India. So for the first 10 years, my focus was on doing some cutting edge cool things as the main and most important focus for the company.
What was the biggest turning point of your business? Was it the first order that came from the French friend of yours, or was it Microsoft? What made you feel that here I'm good for this, to stay in this business now?
See, when you're an entrepreneur, you're one of those cocky guys who always believes you can get it done, right? So I always felt I was going to make it. There was never that doubt ever at all. Okay, so first customer, we had two customers in the beginning. One was, of course, the French company that you talked about. And the other one was a company called Data Parallel Systems, that was in the US and Indiana. I had both of those when I came back to India. And so yeah, that was important that we had some credibility and some money also. They offered us an advance payment and all of those kinds of things. The Microsoft deal was most significant though, meaning what happened was when we started out, it was just a project in some senses. You would call like a pilot in a way, right? I mean, we would not have survived just with those two customers. But the fact that we could get Microsoft, which was already a large company in 92, to work with a small company like us actually turned our whole thing. It made a huge difference for us.
Okay, does size matter in your business?
Yes, it does. Okay, so here's sort of what it is. Of course, size matters. But what happens is, the size matters to the projects that you are. The size of the company and the size of work, they somehow tend to get aligned with each other. So if you're a small company, you have to find your niche and focus. If you're not focused, then you would not make it. So of course, in our industry, like we are about 10,000 people. Some of the large ones like TCS, Infosys, they have several 100,000 people, right? So they are much, much larger than us. So there are projects that we go after where we know we can win, even if TCS or Infi or any of those try to compete with us. For certain kinds of things, we know we are the best.
Okay, let me get Sandeep in. Sandeep, as a banker, you heard his story so far. What is your take?
If you look at Persistent, it's a 25-year-old company, which if you're in US sounds like a very long time.
Yeah.
But in Indian parlance, it's still a young company of 25 years. And from what we can see, it has managed the transition or the evolution very well. It started off partnering the global software product providers, and that provided the platform to the company from a capability perspective, confidence perspective, skill set perspective, and presence global perspective. And from there, it's then evolved into an enterprise solution company and now into a product solution company. So I think that evolution has gone well over the last 25 years. And the way we see it now, that it's got broadly, as I see it, 3 planks to work off. What is always done in the past, which is the product support side. But in my mind, the other 2, and especially the product side, are the ones which are really exciting. And that's kind of getting timed with the fact that globally also, the whole focus is not on enablement, but on solution which are more product oriented. So I guess from a timing perspective, it seems to be quite a sweet one for the company, where the convergence of company strategy and where the world economy or the world IT part is going is kind of converging. So I think the positioning is coming out very, very strong.
You have looked at a lot of IT companies. So what sets Persistence apart from bankers' point of view?
It's an interesting question because I think people's perception is how they divide IT companies is the large ones and the mid-sized ones. But my take is slightly different, and one has to get into the DNA of the company, and quite often it goes back to the origin of each of those companies. So when I look at Persistent, what really stands out is that it's possibly the only IT company I know in India which has partnered with the global software providers very early in its evolution. And when you're working with people like Microsoft or Oracle or IBM or Microsoft, that gives you the skill set and the capability and the sophistication, which is a very, very strong platform to build on as you go further into software, product and solutions.
So from Pune to Mexico, from $10 million to $350 million today, Persistent indeed come a long way. But in the coming years, one could see 25 years being compressed into 5 to 7 years. So how are you ready to meet these challenges?
Right, it's hard, right? Every year it's getting harder and harder. Pace of technology.
Today,
yeah, absolutely. And it's all about continuous transformation, right? That's sort of where it is, and that's the focus at the moment, is how fast can you move. See, what we are preaching in the world right now is that industries as such are starting to become software-driven businesses. And why are they becoming software-driven businesses? The ability to transform very quickly is essential. You cannot have systems internally that are so rigid that you cannot change them very quickly. So the companies that are agile and are able to run this sort of software-driven businesses internally are going to be the key to success. And for us, it's very hard to predict what's going to come 25, 5, 10, 5 years from now. The key has to be ahead and be differentiated, get there and take some chances, but be ready about the transformation, make the changes that you have to make, and be aggressive about it in some sense.
So what's your dream now? When you started in 1990, did you expect the company to grow to this size? What's your dream now?
No, nobody expected the company to grow this size. I mean, you don't always dream that far ahead. You keep moving your dreams. But next few years, I do see us transforming, and we are really taking bits on transformation that is going to happen in the world, whether it's digital transformation or otherwise. See, overall, if you look at what's happening, the number of devices that's going out of, people are saying everyone is going to have, per individual, going to have 1,000 devices. All these 1,000 devices collecting data at very large scale. All of this data that's coming together, that needs to be analyzed. You need to actionize it. You need to provide insights in an actionable way. And this whole infrastructure that's going to happen because of APIs in some sense, in the way how you would be able to interact with other people's data and data that's getting collected at large, right? And integrating that with payments, the ability for individuals to come in. So we are looking at a very exciting technology roadmap over the next 5 years. And I'm really anxious and excited to make sure that at Persistent, we are part of this action. And if we did that right globally, then I think we would be in a very different place in the next 3 years.
So what would you attribute your success to? Hard work, vision, foresight, luck?
Usually it's all of those, right? Meaning, see, it's like this. Luck happens, you got to make it happen. This is what I tell everybody, right? Of course, persistent, and when I came back in 1990, I've been part of the journey of the phenomenal growth in the IT tech industry in India. I was absolutely at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But, I didn't know that at that time.
But you did computers much before anybody could think about it.
Right, but when I was doing that, I didn't know I was at the right place, right? I could have moved on very easily. Sometimes circumstances put you in a situation where you are. But it's also, it's not that you always recognize, but you have to be adaptable and keep moving to where it needs to go, right? Meaning, when I came back in 90, India was not a place to do software. It was a pretty crazy idea if you look at it, and I can say, oh, it was a visionary thing, but if you ask my friends at that time, they were very sure I was going to come back in 1 year or two. Right? I mean, some of the others who came back with me returned very quickly. So, it's one of those things. But I can say about us, we are very persistent actually. We are persistent not just by name, but by also our value systems and everything else. And I have been very persistent in all my life. So I know I have my limitations. I don't do good. I'm not the best at everything that we do, but whatever we do really well. And that's really the focus. Small companies like us, you cannot do many things. You got to pick those few things to do, and those few things you got to do it so well that nobody else can come there. And that's really what our focus is, and that's what persistence is all about. And I certainly believe in that in pretty much everything I do in my life. I don't do many things. I just do a few things. But those few things, I can do them really well.
Very well put, Anand. Thanks a lot for being on the show, Anand and Sandeep. Thank you very much. Well, that was Anand Deshpande telling us with conviction as to how he scripted his life and business. These are the mantras he applied to build persistent systems. Keep reinventing yourself. Unless you're differentiated, you're dead. Clarity and focus are cornerstone of success. There is always something you can sell to everyone. Small is beautiful. If you identify and work on your strength, then you can take on the big boys. Well, these mantras have made it possible for Persistent to carve a niche for itself. Before I go, here is an interesting observation made by Anand Deshpande, and I quote him. You don't always dream that far ahead. You keep moving your dreams, unquote. On that thinking note, it is time to say goodbye. See you next week with another interesting episode. Till then, keep watching CNBC TV 18.